Have you ever seen those poor people running to catch the ship as it pulls away from the pier? You really don't want to be those people, the ones who make the entire ship wait because you can't get back to the ship on time. So join us as we ensure that you never have to dash for your ship again. We'll cover some crucial planning strategies, timing tactics, and savvy travel hacks, all designed to make sure you return to the ship smoothly, enjoyably, and on time. And then there's that one thing. I'm going to let you in on a little secret that will practically guarantee you'll never have to run for that cruise ship again. So first up, let's talk about time. When you're on a cruise ship, there's ship time, there's port time, and arguably there's time in the rest of the world. So, okay, we all know about daylight savings time and Eastern time, Central time, Mountain time, Western time. There's different time zones. Well, that is true all over the world. So when you're traveling on a cruise ship, you're changing time zones. Okay, so arguably to minimize the number of times that you change the time, the cruise lines have come up with the concept they call ship's time. Ship's time will change. Usually it's once or twice during a cruise. They try not to change ship's time more than that because people, have sometimes struggle to keep up. When you get on the ship, every ship's got clocks all around the ship. Well, not literally all around, but there's plenty of clocks. The TVs tell you what the ship's time is. When you're about to change ship's time, go from 11 o'clock to 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, they'll make announcements. They'll tell you. There's plenty of ways to figure out what ship's time is. I'm kind of beating this to death because it's important. If you are always on ship's time, you will never miss your ship. Forget about what port time is. It could be an hour off of what ship's time is. A suggestion that I do a lot of times, I'll leave my smartwatch at home and I've got a $10 Timex watch, an analog watch with no electronics connected to it, just a battery to power it. A lot of times I'll take that on a cruise ship with me. We get on board, I set that for ship's time. I turn off the automatic update on my phone for the time zone and go by what my watch is. That way my watch is always right. That's what I go by to make sure I'm back on the ship on time. All right, I beat that to death enough. Setting realistic return goals. Plan to be back on ship at least an hour before that all aboard time. When you're getting ready to get off the ship, if you haven't been on a cruise before, they will announce the all aboard time. Okay, you've got to be back aboard by 4 p.m. It'll be in the daily planner. It'll be in the app. It'll be all over the place. Okay, set as many reminders as you need to make sure that you're back, period. Essential documents and items. Now, there's been much discussion about whether or not to take your passport with you when you get off the ship at, St. Thomas, St. Martin, wherever. I always do. I bring my SeaPass card. I bring my passport, I bring some cash. Why do I do it? Because God forbid something happens and I can't make it back to the ship. I don't want to have to worry about how I'm going to get my passport. I mean, if I can't get back to the ship for whatever reason, I can't get back there to get my passport either. I don't want to have to deal with that. I bring it with me. I make sure it's hidden and secure, and I always have it. We already talked about, I want to mention it again, that $10 analog watch. Most of us, let's just say more mature people, physically more mature, older, we've got an old Timex laying around somewhere. Might need to spend, $5 or $10 and get a new battery for it, but give that some thought. Think about going that route, because that way you always know the time is right. Excursions. Let's talk about how the type of excursion you choose will help you get back on time. So if you book the ship-endorsed excursions, i.e. you're going on a Royal Caribbean ship, you go to royalcaribbean.com, you log in, you go to their cruise planner, and you pick an excursion you see on their site or on their app, okay? The upside to that, the excursion companies on that island that are partnering with Royal Caribbean have signed a legally binding contract that they will get their customers back to the ship by a certain time. If they don't do it, they don't get to work with Royal Caribbean anymore. It's arguably that simple. So they are going to do everything in their power to make sure you get back before that all aboard time. Worry-free adventures. You don't have to even think about it. That's their job. Your job is to have fun. You don't have to worry about what time you got to be back. Ship's time, port time, none of that. It doesn't matter. That's the upside. One of the upsides to using that ship-endorsed excursions. Now, if you are going to do your own thing, make sure, when possible, that you use reliable transportation. Do some research before you go on the cruise to find shuttle services, to find taxis that are official, that they've been vetted, they have some sort of licensing. This is not some, gypsy cab guy, I'm going to make an extra $20 today. Let me go sit by the cruise ship and see if I can give some Americans a tour around. make sure that they're reliable, make sure that you check out their reviews, and their reviews are for the most part good. Okay. If you are stuck somewhere or potentially stuck somewhere, reach out to guest services. There's a phone number. I don't remember how you find it, but there's a phone number that you can call. I'm sure you can get it from guest services that will get to you to that ship and just let them know that you've got a potential delay. It's going to take you a while to get through to them. So, don't do that instead of trying to get back. But if your taxi cab is stuck on the side of the road with a flat tire and it's going to take the guy a half hour to change a tire, if he has a backup, spend that time trying to get in touch with the ship's crew and let them know. Okay. Arguably not a whole lot they can do about it, but at least they are aware of the situation. We've talked a little bit about using your phone reminders and alerts and things. There are some apps that you can download that are useful for exploring port cities on foot. They give you maps and directions to local experiences, local things you want to experience. I'm not going to name any of them because I've heard mixed reviews about pretty much all of them. But you can use them for navigating around the island. And some of them have reminders that, basically you'll pop up and say, hey, based on your current location, if all aboard time is at 4 p.m., well, it's now 3 o'clock and it's a 40-minute walk back to the ship. Time to start heading back to the ship. For those of us technophiles, those of us who loved our technology, might want to check that out. We're coming up on the halfway point, and there's a simple app that could save you from that Pier sprint. Just one app. We'll talk about here in a minute. This next segment is about Pier running prior to cruise. Okay, to me, that's still Pier running. Don't plan on flying in the day of your cruise. Come in a day early. Explore Miami. Explore Fort Lauderdale. Port Canaveral. Drive it. Get a ride back into Orlando, or don't go to Canaveral until later, or something. Okay. I live in the Northeast. We usually fly out of Philadelphia to Orlando. We'll use Orlando. Philadelphia to Orlando, there's like 8 departures a day from Philly Airport nonstop to Orlando. Okay. I want to use that to my advantage. So if my cruise leaves on a Saturday at 4 p.m., I'm not taking a flight out Saturday morning, even the 6 a.m. Saturday morning flight. I'm going out 4 o'clock Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock Friday afternoon. Because if something happens to my flight, I want to have the most chances to get to my cruise on time. If my flight Saturday morning is canceled, I've only got 2, 3, maybe 4 chances to get on another flight to get down there in time. Now, I want to be on the flight the day before. So if my 3 o'clock flight is delayed or canceled, I've got 2 or 3 options Friday night, and then I've got 4 or 5 options on Saturday. So probably too late to shorten the story, but avoid any race to the port scenarios, whether it be racing to the port before you depart or racing to the port when you're in destination. Okay. Stay connected with your fellow travelers. If you're with a group of people, even if it's just, another couple that you're hanging out with, be in communication with them during that excursion if they're not with you. Now, if they're with you, doesn't help, but just be in communication with them. Remind them, hey, we got to embarkate, we all aboard times in an hour. You guys on your way back? That way you're reminding each other, hey, it's time to get back. Let's get back. Okay. One more tip that's coming up. It's going to tie all of this information together into a arguably foolproof plan. Utilize the ship's daily newsletter for accurate schedules and any itinerary changes. That newsletter, whether it be a paper newsletter or on your app, that's got the latest and greatest information. Well, at the time of printing, it's going to tell you what's the ship's time. It's going to tell you if port time is going to be different. It's going to tell you if they, for whatever reason, they had to, get into port an hour earlier or an hour later, unless it was emergency, and that won't be in there. But use that newsletter to stay on top of things. Using that newsletter definitely helps keep you in touch with what's happening. Now, before you go on that cruise, join some of the websites, whether it be Cruise Critic or Facebook groups or whatever. Do some research about the destination. Do some research about when the ship usually departs, what the all aboard time is. That way you'll know ahead of time, and if you're going to do your own kind of excursion, okay, the ship usually departs at 5 o'clock, so all aboard time's an hour before that, so we got to be back by 4. Okay, well, this excursion we're looking at through the Viator website says, it's from 10 to 3. Okay, we should be good to go. They got good reviews. They look reputable. We've communicated with them once or twice. They're responsive. They're knowledgeable. Okay, yeah, we can plan that. Or, yeah, no, all aboard time's usually 4 o'clock. This tour won't get us back till 5 o'clock. We're not doing that. Use the experience of others to enhance the likelihood of you getting back on time. So speaking of, now that you're back on board and ready to sit down for dinner, join us as we explore cruise menus from gourmet delights to less appetizing bites.